And hello and welcome. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES.tv. I'm David Bowles.
And hello.
Well, oh, no.
Bowles.tv.
Oh, that's the television.
BOLES.
Hey, it's Friday. And I still have the echo in my head. A real echo over here, and this off. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'll have to ask somebody over the weekend. So we are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. But not this Monday. This Monday we are off for the holiday, celebrating the 4th of July with our tie-dye shirts and our happy faces. Well, today's going to be hot. In the New York City area, a high of 98 degrees, bright sunshine, and complete and total misery. And then tomorrow, my captions are not working. And then tomorrow is going to be cloudy and awful and thunderstormy with a 99% chance of rain. And Sunday and Monday nice. So it's going to be a weird weekend. I don't know if people are going to be traveling, getting in a car. But I did love the story where I think it was Delta Airlines was offering people in Michigan $10,000 per person to get off the plane. Now, they can bump you for any reason. They don't have to pay you anything. And they started at $5,000, and no one took up the offer. So they made it $10,000 to take a later flight. And they had 8 spots. They needed to get rid of 8 people, so that's $80,000 that they were willing to spend. And you could either get it sent to your Apple Pay or a Visa gift card for $10,000 per person. Now, imagine if you're a family of 5 and you took them up on that offer. $50,000. That's life-changing money just for taking a later plane. And what if you have to spend the night in the airport? So what? Who cares? $50,000. And it's not income. They don't take taxes. It's a gift. It's fabulous. Oh, Gordon's here. That's a lot of Starbucks or Dunkin'. Now that's weird how that all played out weird. It looks good in chat. It looks strange on screen. Who knows what's going on? It's Friday. As you can see, our 3 and 4 balloons have disappointed us for Balloon Loon fans in our audience. Came into the studio this morning and both the 3 and the floor had flopped and they were on the floor. French Friday. I don't know what that means, but I do like a French fry. I support all potatoes and most potatoes. So I try to clean it up a little bit and put the 3 over here and put the 4 over there. Friday. Oh, Friday. Now, you would think this is a man who has young children, so he has a juvenile sort of sense of humor, Commissioner Gordon. But it's not true. This was his sense of humor before he had children and before he met his wife. Which is why we love Gordon. And because the 3 and the 4 disappeared, we doubled our balloon cluster in the back because Jana Marie said, you need more balloons. Gordon says, I make dad jokes long before being a dad. It's verifiable. It's on the record and it's true. So we're loving the balloons. We have all kinds of balloons. We only had 1 set of balloons, and then there was another one that was in the bedroom that was gifted, borrowed, loaned, given to me for this live stream sanctuary. So what else is going on? Well, yesterday, a little bit of a historic day. The first time there was visible bloodshed on this live stream. It was sort of egged on by Gordon, but we'll get to that in a minute. But in case you missed it, this was the tragedy that we suffered together. This is my all-time favorite knife. This is my Benchmade Valet, which which is a gold knife, meaning as in gold label. And you're trying to think of the term gold label, and you're opening your knife and you cut your finger. This rarely happens to me. I try to be so much more cautious. But this is my gold fillet that now has my blood. Well, it's a beautiful knife. There's no doubt about that. The blood was a tragedy, and we're still not really over it. Oh, Gordon says the best thing about this is that on Monday, we can watch the video of you watching that video, and on Tuesday, we can watch the video of you watching that video, and so on. And well, I like that very much. It's you within a you. And this is the injured finger in question. I stopped it bleeding by sucking on it, and I should have just stopped at that. But when the show was over, I said, well, I've infected myself with my own saliva. Could be monkeypox, I don't know. So I put a little bit of the new skin on there, which I think is a miracle to humankind. And it started to really bleed then. I don't know what happened. And the thing with new skin is when you put it on, you have to go like this, wherever part of your body you're putting it on. So it sort of dries and seals within the cracks of your skin. If you just hold your finger up and let it dry, then the second you move, then it cracks itself and it ruins the barrier of protection. So that took several tries to get it to stop bleeding and then to finally cover it properly with new skin. And new skin is FSA, HSA eligible. So if you have a health savings account, you can use it to buy new skin and Band-Aids from your local Amazon dealer. Now, when the show ended yesterday, I contacted the person who was responsible for the 3 and the 4 and the balloons. And said, hey, I don't know if you saw what happened on the show today, but I injured my finger and I was bleeding. And I thought that I would get some kind of sympathy. And I didn't. This person said, well, I hope Gordon was impressed. And I said, well, Gordon was not impressed in any way. Gordon actually said I should be using a key for a knife. And I've been thinking about that for a long time, since yesterday. And I have that on the record. It's part of the official record of this live stream that Gordon said, use a key in place of a knife. If you want to open a box, but we know he meant everything. So I got to thinking, oh, and Gordon said, I actually think that I said that person will use a key, but my family teases me for it. Well, there you go. And that's the next step. Because I was also questioned under oath by Commissioner Gordon, why would you carry a pocket knife? Why do you need a knife with you? And I said, well, if I want to eat an apple, you can have a little knife with you and you can cook with the apple. And then I started thinking, well, I would love to see Commissioner Gordon eat an apple using a key, because that is the next logical step in this tragedy of me cutting my finger yesterday. And then I thought, well, we could go to trial, but who would be the trial judge? And I thought immediately I would pick Elizabeth, because I know she would be on my side. It would be unfair to the accused, who is Commissioner Gordon, to have his wife presiding. So I thought, well, who else? Who's possible? And I thought, okay. Because the question is, do you use a key as a knife? And I believe the most impartial person to judge this would be my new friend, Malka. Now, there would be familial pressure to come down on the side of the commissioner. But if we ask Malka, do you use a key to eat an apple? I am very confident I would win. Commissioner says, the funny thing about that is that when I eat an apple, it has to be cut up because one of the crowns in my mouth requires it. Me too, same thing, exactly right. That's why you don't have a key to eat an apple. Malka would say, that's gross. Well, I agree with her and I think I win, so I'm not talking about this anymore. Except to show you the one knife that I could not show you yesterday. And I'm going to open it because I've already shed blood. This is my Shirogorov. This is my knife among knives. It's very expensive. It is Russian. Russian made. There's a bear on here somewhere, I think. Oh, it's right here. You can't see. Where's the bear? There's the bear. The Russian bear right there. Now, these are very expensive. There's only one importer in the United States. They're in Los Angeles. People who buy knives are very furious that you can only get it from that one person because they charge a lot of money. But before they got involved, you could find them on the internet for reasonable prices. These go for like anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. And this is just very, very simple because I can't afford the really fancy ones. But here, they have a special ball bearing system that makes this very smooth, and then it locks. I'm not touching this. But it's a beautiful knife. It's my favorite knife. I really don't use it for anything because I don't want it to be ruined with glue from a package. But I do open it, and I do often hold it. Now, the one thing I don't like about this knife is that it locks. It doesn't have the Benchmade lock. I have to push this thing over here, push over the scale to unlock it, and then it goes very gently into that good night. But this could very easily be made into a gravity knife, and it would be illegal. So this stays home with me. Well, we were testing Facebook yesterday and the day before with our good friend Igba, trying to get his NFTs up and online and celebrated. And we're having problems, and Facebook said, we have 3 ways to try to figure this out. Try to post it on mobile. I said no to that because I don't, the interview, the copying, the pasting, I don't like to use my phone. I like a big computer screen because I'm old and old-fashioned. But I said, if you make me, I'll do it. They said, try to post again and see if it works. I did, and it didn't. And I sent them screenshots. And then third, they said, hey, if you give us permission to go into your account and become you, and you send us the interview, and we will copy and paste that into your post, we can then see from the inside why your NFT thing is not updating. And I said, yes. You become me, take over my page, go in there, and see if you can make it work. Because I can't figure it out. And they said, well, if we become you, then we can track every minute of it and figure out where it's going wrong. But if you wanted to do it on your mobile phone, we're sure that would work. I don't want to do it on my mobile phone. Okay. So that was yesterday around 1 p.m., and I haven't heard back from them. I sent them screenshots. I told everything that was going on. Nothing. And I told Igba, I said, look, we're trying to figure this out. He said, oh, it's okay. And I said, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm disappointing you. Oh, you can never disappoint me. So he's being very patient as we try to figure out what's going on. And boy, an alpha test really is much more challenging than anything that is related to a beta test. And this is why, because I was able to post very easily 3 NFT posts And then I couldn't. Doesn't make any sense. And the one I tried to post yesterday was one of Jana Marie. So it's something that I created, I own, I know, I did it all right. And that wouldn't post either. And one of the original posts was her video. So it should have worked. But it didn't work. Now, as you may know, we are big fans of impossible things. One of them is the Impossible Food Company. And there are two big players that are new to the crowd, Impossible and Beyond Meat. And then there are the old standbys, Light Life and Gardein. They've been around forever. But Impossible and Beyond are new. And they're very competitive in the fast food space because, like, McDonald's is sort of in the Impossible group, and Burger King's in the Impossible, and then Cheesecake Factory is Impossible, and then Beyond has their own food people. White Castle is also Impossible. And Impossible, to me, just has better taste, better mouthfeel than the Beyond. But the Beyond is much easier to find because it's everywhere. So I get this email yesterday as a lover of the Impossible Whopper. It says Burger King triples the delicious. Now, most people who eat Impossible Whoppers are trying to be super healthy, vegetarian, vegan if they want to be, all right? Not a lot of meat lovers are ordering Impossible Whoppers. It doesn't make any sense. Now, you could, for a time, and our Burger King closed here for some reason. So we don't have easy access to a Burger King anymore. You could ask them, and you'd have to pay another $6 to add a second burger to your Impossible Whopper burger. So you'd have two patties instead of one. We never tried it, but I would have because it sounds delicious. So, Burger King triples the delicious. Okay, I'm for that. We started with the Impossible Whopper. Now, meet the new Impossible King, an Impossible Southwest Bacon Whopper. I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't know Impossible had Impossible Bacon, but I'm certainly interested in this. And don't those look delicious with the non-vegan, probably cheese, but we know that Burger King doesn't use real cheese because it's too expensive. But they can't admit that. As if you needed another reason to stop at Burger King. Well, we have two more. Impossible Bacon Fries. Up quite well. The Impossible Whopper got so much love that Burger King decided to add two more Impossible options to their menu. Feed your hunger with mouth-watering Impossible King and delicious Impossible Southwest Bacon Whopper. Both available now. At your nearest Burger King or via the BK app. Now, this is what's very interesting. This email came from Impossible. This did not come from Burger King. And Impossible is all about health and eating lifestyle. Okay, so the Impossible King takes an Impossible burger patty and tops it with melty cheese, pickles, ketchup, mustard, white onion on a toasted sesame seed bun. Now, I don't understand how this is any different from the regular Whopper. I don't know what they've added to it. Is it the onions? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. However, this is where it gets really freaking weird. So this is the Impossible Southwest Bacon Whopper. Flame grills an Impossible burger patty, okay, and tops it with avocado spread, yes. Crispy bacon. Now, it doesn't say crispy Impossible bacon or imposter bacon, just regular old bacon. seasoned tortilla chips, strips. I thought those were fried onions, but they're tortilla strips. American cheese, crisp lettuce, sliced white onions, juicy tomatoes, and creamy spicy sauce on a toasted sesame seed bun. Now, it sounds delicious, but in doing a little more checking and asking my friends at Impossible, the bacon is real. Can you have an Impossible Whopper, Southwest Bacon Whopper, and use pigs? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm super disappointed in Burger King, but I'm really super disappointed in Impossible because they know better. Why did they approve this? Who are they going after? A meat eater is not going to order an Impossible Southwest Bacon Whopper. A person looking for a little bit of a healthy fast food treat is not going to order the bacon version of the Whopper. A vegetarian, a vegan is not going to order this. Now, maybe they think they'll order it by taking off the bacon. But that's most of the cost. And these Whoppers are not cheap. Around here, when we would try one, they were like $11, $12 each. Now, they were huge. They were Whoppers. And if you wanted a second patty, then you add another $6. So it's a lot of money. I find this all very distressing and very impossible. Impossible in a very sad and negative way. So I'm going to chew on that for a second. And now it's time for a very brief blood pressure break. Returning in a moment. And hey, we are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES dot TV for television. And we spell it out because we have deaf and hard of hearing viewers who are using closed captions. And the captions are pretty terrible. But that's just the nature of the beast. It's not because of the captioning people who are offering the captions. That's why you need a real human being to do captions properly. Because the computers cannot quite do it yet. And when I just speak Bowles, they type it BOWLS, not BOLES. So that's why we say it that way. So on break, I thought, why am I not showing this? And this is the official website in America for the Shiragorev knives. Blood on this one, baby. And this is the Recon One is the main importer of these knives. Or at least they used to be. It appears they still are, and everybody else buys from them if you want one. And sometimes there are bidding wars and auctions, and they make a lot of money. Somehow they've made this deal that they are the sole importer of these knives. And maybe it's because there are not a lot of out there, and they make great guarantees. I don't know. I'm dealing with my finger here and some skin off today. So here's one, $625, which, believe it or not, is a great price for this knife. These knives are routinely in the thousands of dollars, and they're very beautifully made. Only the best, and it's in stock. This one is sold out. How much was it selling for? Does it have a price? No. But the most interesting thing about these knives is how you can kind of customize them, which is where all the money is. $100 for the copper pivot bead. It's this thing right here. So I could upgrade this and I guess install this if I had the guts to try it, which I do not, for $100. And this, I guess, would become the Bear logo. Or copper radiator bead, $100. Or titanium jeans bead. Jeans being the color. And $80 for the copper pivot bead small. So if you're into knives, it can be a lot of fun. And I've collected in the past when I was younger. Keys, I loved any kind of key. Pens, love a pen collection. I'm not a great collector, but there are things I collect what I like. Now, another topic of discussion that we've shared many times here on this live stream is getting emails for people who are not you. And these people use my Gmail address that I had to purchase when Gmail first started. And the new thing is with these people is they now use multiple email addresses when they're doing like official business with the doctor's office or so that. And the reason they do that is because they figured out that the email address that they think is theirs is mine, and people email them and they're not getting the email, and they haven't figured out why. So they add 2 other emails so they make sure that they get the email, but they keep mine there. And I get dunning notices about overdue taxes and car sales and insurance. And in the past, I've tried to contact people, and they are very, very offended when I tell them that they don't know their own email address. and that they are actually using my email address. And I say, please don't. And they accuse me of stealing their identification. And I tell them, well, really, you're stealing my identification because you're using my email address as your email address. They don't take that point. And so yesterday, I received a very interesting email addressed to not a David Bowles, but a Darren Bowles. And as I'm looking at this email, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know this guy. I believe this is the same guy who registered for college, taking classes, using my email address. I don't know why he was using his university email address. And then got dropped by the university because he did not pay his tuition bill. Probably because he never received it. Because I received his tuition bill. And I wrote to him, no response. I wrote to the university. They did respond. They said, thank you very much. So I don't know what happened, but this is the mentality of some of these people that I'm dealing with. That they would register for classes, enroll as a new student, not pay their tuition bill, not seem to be worried about it, and not seem to want to respond to my inquiries of voicemail leaving that I think there's a problem with your tuition statement because I'm getting all of your emails. But this is a new level of weirdness from U.S. Domestic Supply. And I find it slightly overly creepazoidy. So obviously our friend ordered these things, had them delivered, and now this company wants this D-Bowles to rate it. And I am not the D-Bowles in question. And I looked up all of these things that were purchased. And it's hard to see what they are. But now not so much. What is clenbuterol? It's a substance that has steroid-like effects and is classified as a beta-2 androgenic agnostic. What does it do to your body? It stimulates the beta-2 androgen receptors in your throat. The medicine helps relax your muscles and lungs, making it easier to breathe if you have asthma or another respiratory condition. This is what I get in my email. What are the side effects? Heart palpitations, tremors, anxiety, lowered blood potassium, elevated blood sugar. And the order was 400 mcg, 100 tabs. Next on the list, Testopin. Testosterone propionate. What do it do? Well, sold under the brand name Testoviron, among others, is an androgen and anabolic steroid, which is used mainly in the treatment of low testosterone levels in men. Okay. Why would you take this? What would you do with it? Well, it looks like it's bodybuilding again. A bulking steroid to boost testosterone naturally. Our friend purchased Testopin 100 mgs, 1 milliliter, 10 milliliter, with Canadian peptides. Okay. Next in the order, Trenbolone, is a steroid used on livestock to increase muscle growth and appetite. Oh, and here's a picture of livestock right here too, so you can see the livestock. To increase muscle growth and appetite. To increase its effective half-life, Trenbolone is administered as a prodrug. What does it do to your body? Well, it is a bulking steroid. It's our second one. They can also be used for cutting. The great thing about Tren is its ability to reduce muscle mass and neutralize any catabolic effects associated with eating in a calorie deficit. Trenbolone is also a diuretic. You're going to have to go to the bathroom. So how much did our D-friend purchase of that? Oh, it's a mix. 200 milligrams, 1 vial, 10 milliliters. Finally, in our house of rogues, testosterone cypionate. What do? Well, it's used to treat symptoms of hypogonadism in males. In this condition, males don't produce enough of the sex hormone testosterone. Low testosterone levels in males can lead to mood changes, poor concentration, erectile dysfunction, getting or keeping an erection, and low sex drive. And what you may or may not know is people who are on steroids, bodybuilders, have a problem with their testicles shrinking because of the steroids. So they take medication like this to not lose their testicles. I find it very strange and disappointing. So our D friend, what happened? Testosterone cypionate 200 milligrams, 10 milliliter vial. Now, is any of this legal? Is this an online drugstore? Is it from Canada? Is it the dark web? I don't know if a medical doctor in the USA would prescribe this over the mail, through the mail. But it's a little disappointing to learn that my sort of email doppelganger is out doing terrible things to his body. And for what purpose? To build muscle and to keep your testicles from shrinking. Speaking of shrinking testicles, have you heard the news? Big news. And this is just not about sports. This is about much more important things. But the Pac-12, formerly known as the Pac-10, is blowing up in a bad way for the schools in the association. UCLA, University of Los Angeles, and USC, University of Southern California, are leaving the Pac-12 to join, the Big Ten? What? Nebraska joined the Big Ten and is not doing well. These Los Angeles schools are leaving the Pac-12 to head to the Midwest, creating a 16-member conference for 2024, which is very, very, very soon. The Sweet 16, also known as the Big Ten. Used to have 10 members, now they have 12, 14, now they're going to have 16. And 2024 is fast. Oklahoma and Texas are leaving for the SEC to go get trounced there. But they can't get there until 2025. So this is happening very soon. I heard that the only sport that is not transferring to the Midwest, staying local in Los Angeles, I guess in the Pac-10, the Pac-12, I don't know, is beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is going to be played on the sand in Los Angeles. They don't have beach volleyball in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Nebraska. So the local Nebraska paper says, in a bold, ambitious step, the Big Ten grows to 16 with additions of USC and UCLA. Now, this really is a big get. Now, some people say, oh, this is so dumb. Why? I think it's absolute genius. They now have California. So they are the only athletic league that owns both coasts. Now, they say they own the New York City area, which is the East Coast, and Los Angeles is the West, right? And then the big middle with where all the schools are. But they claim the New York City area, which is where all the money is, like Los Angeles, which has all the money and television opportunity. They claim New York because of Rutgers. The University of the State of New Jersey, Rutgers, is, on paper, I guess, the New York City metro area, which is good because they really are the only team in the New York City area that is at a big university and has a good football team. What's the other option? Columbia? Terrible team. Fordham? Nebraska played Fordham. Fordham is not a mainline football school. They've had good teams, but they're not in the same division. It was a preseason game, not a season game. So there really isn't any other football team in the New York metropolitan area that could compete in the Big Ten, except for Rutgers. So good for them. It's a good school. And the Midwestern teams, the Iowa, the Michigan, the Nebraskas, are just saying they can't wait to play UCLA or USC in November in the snow in Lincoln, Nebraska, because they won't be able to do it. Now, people are wondering why. What's going on with this? Is it about competition? Of course it's about competition, but it's also about one thing, and that one thing is what? Money. I guess the statistics are, I'm working on my finger again, is that in the Pac-12, these two schools are getting paid as part of their conference $28 million a year. Which is great, but not good. And the previous commissioner of the Pac-12 made a terrible television deal, and nobody got any money. And the Big Ten is now up for renegotiation of their deal that people are saying is going to be worth $1 billion. So the possible payout for these teams in the Big Ten are $100 million a year. So if you could have $28 million a year for playing football or $100 million a year for playing football, which one would you choose? Well, the decision's been made. But people say the decision is much deeper than just that, because there are very severe problems, money-related problems, for both of those schools. And the thing they're missing is once you join the Big Ten, there's a buy-in period where you don't get a full cut. For I think like the first 2 or 3 years, you get a little bit at your first year, a little bit more your second year, and then by the third year, you're fully vested in the conference and you get a full share. So they're not going to get $100 million right away. But in the long term, it's the right way to go. USC, which used to be a football powerhouse, is not any longer, sort of like Nebraska. So they spent $110 million, is the rumor, We don't know yet because it hasn't been published, but it will be because USC is a private school, not a government school. $110 million to their new football coach that they stole from, was it Oklahoma or Texas? Nobody cares. And people say, oh, that's a lot of money, $110 for a football coach. Well, if he wins, nobody will care. And they say it's over 10 years, so that's $10 million a year. But the UCLA coach gets $3 million a year. So you can tell the expectation is probably 4 times as much for USC. So here's the Dirt website. From March of this year, new USC football coach Lincoln Riley drops $17 million on a new estate. Okay. So if you're USC and you're getting $28 million a year from your conference for all of your athletic needs, not just football, how are you going to pay your head football coach $110 million? Well, you leave the Pacific. Would you like to have that theater in your basement? I would like to have it. Yes, I admit it. You leave and you join the Big Ten, where you're going to get $100 million so you can help your coach pay off his $17 million home. And oh boy, the people in Texas or wherever he came from, Oklahoma, are furious with him for this new California lifestyle that everybody wants and nobody can have because you have to save the football team. Now, if he doesn't save the football team, he's going to be in a big pickle. But many people say he will because USC has a lot of money now. They have good donors. And he's an excellent coach. So that's the price you pay for excellence today. And here's another one from the Los Angeles Times explaining why in the world would UCLA leave the Pac-12 to go play in the Midwestern snow? The answer is money. Slammed by a double whammy. The University of California, Los Angeles posts a record $62.5 million in debt. So even if their first year in the league, in the Big Ten, they don't get $100 million, if they get $60 million, that 1 year wipes out a $62 million debt for a public school. That makes sense. And they said the Big Ten's probably not done expanding. They're going to get Oregon, and they're going to get University of Washington. And maybe Stanford for the San Francisco area and Cal Berkeley. Most people think those other 2 California schools will not make it. They say their money is on the Pacific Northwest, which is a big media market. Phil Knight's Oregon money, they want that. And Washington is just an outstanding school. And I agree. We're going to have like 3 big conferences, athletic conferences, and they're all going to be filled with, maybe 25 schools, 64 schools altogether. And every other school is going to be out. Like Utah, where are they going to go? Washington State, who wants them? They're in big trouble. And finally, probably more than the coach's salary, this might be just why Mike Yanner's getting me a problem. USC needs to get into the Big Ten. They just had to pay $1.1 billion to patients of a gynecologist accused of abuse. So, 110 for your football coach versus 1.1 billion in a penalty. It's a very, very rich school, but maybe not $1.1 billion worth. The staggering sum, a combination of 3 sets of settlements with hundreds of alleged victims of Dr. George Tyndall, sets a record for collegiate sex abuse payouts. Hey, welcome to the Big Ten. It's not for everybody. From last year, the University of Southern California announced it will pay more than $1.1 billion to the former patients of a campus gynecologist, accused of preying sexually on hundreds of patients, marking what the university officials called the end of a painful and ugly chapter in the history of our university. So there you go. It's not about the glory. It's not about athletic competition. It's not about winning awards. This move for UCLA and USC is about paying off debts they owe. And they're going to do it off the backs of their student athletes. Now, someone made an interesting comment online saying, students can now move from school to school in the portal. Without penalty, at least once you can move without penalty. Why can't schools? Who says schools have to be bound by their conferences? Schools should be just as free to move around to get the best deal as the student athletes. It's hard to argue with that. And now it's time for our next break. Returning in a moment. And hey, we're back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. BWLES.tv. Well, I'm trying to figure out how I can get this email to show to you, but I'm afraid it's going to crash things. So I'll just tell you, while we're on break, we get an email from Impossible Burgers again. It's not an apology for their Impossible Bacon Wrap Burger King Burger. It is, hey, something to grill about. 4th of July. But this is 2 emails. I got one email this morning about the Whopper, and then I get this email, 2 hours later? Get something to grill about. $3.50 off. Impossible Burgers at Costco. Find a Costco near you. Get $3 off an 8-pack of Impossible Burger patties. I like the pre-made patty. I've never seen it from Impossible before, and if I were smarter, I would figure out how to at least show you an image of it. Oh, it's downloading it. That's so cute. Well, if it downloaded it, that means I should be able to pull it out. I'm smarter than I look. Or is it I'm dumber than I look? Same thing. Hey, this is what they're showing you. I've never experienced this before, and I love that. Now, this does not look like this to me. This looks like 2 of these smushed together to make that. But anyway, reading from the email, because I support Impossible in every way. I love them. They've sent me t-shirts. I've been with them from the beginning. We're leveling up your grilling season with delicious meat made from plants. Enjoy $3.50 off your frozen 8-pack of Impossible Burger patties at Costco through July 22nd. Go and stock up. Impossible Burger has 19 grams of protein and 0 cholesterol. Fabulous. And it sizzles like a champ on the grill. While it looks like, cooks like, and tastes like meat from animals, it's made from plants, but not the bacon on the Whopper. We can't wait to see what you grill up. When you snap that pic of your epic summer, the email says, be sure to tag us at Impossible Foods on Instagram or Impossible Foods on Twitter. But they don't say there are any prizes, so I'm not sure I'll be participating. Soylent wins all of my prize-winning activity. So speaking of burgers, I love this story about Trump. And now that he's in big trouble, we hope, lots of articles about what a terrible person he was and a horrible manager of his hotel. And there people are talking about old articles that were written and how impossible Trump was and how he had this special steps process for serving him a Coca-Cola. And he also loved ketchup. He put ketchup on everything. He wanted a well-done steak, and most steak lovers will say you never make a steak well done. You want it as raw as possible. I learned all this after I stopped eating meat, but now I know there is a method to the madness. So this is from the Washingtonian Magazine, which is an insider magazine published in and around the Washington, D.C. area. And what I loved is the standard operating procedure document outlining step-by-step what to do and say anytime Trump dined at BLT Prime, his hotel at the time, and the restaurant in his hotel. Here we go. As soon as Trump was seated, the server had to discreetly present a mini bottle of Purell hand sanitizer. This applied long before COVID. Next, cue dialogue, which means you say this to President Trump. Good time of day, Mr. President. Would you like your Diet Coke with or without ice? Do you have any Grey Poupon? The server was instructed to recite, not the Grey Poupon part, a polished tray with chilled bottles and highball glasses was already prepared for either response from the president. Directions for pouring the soda were detailed in a process no fewer than 7 steps long, illustrated with 4 photo exhibits. The beverage had to be opened in front of the germaphobe commander-in-chief, never beforehand. The server was to hold a long neck bottle opener by the lower third of the handle in one hand, and the Diet Coke also by the lower third in the other. I guess Trump wanted to hear the shh, knowing that the bottle was being freshly opened. Once poured, the drink had to be placed at the president's right-hand side. Repeat until POTUS departs. Can you believe people are like that? That you have to have something like that to do something like this? Gordon says if you're familiar with the Food Theory YouTube channel, they did a whole video comparing official Diet Coke with a number of supermarket brands to see if it is possible that a supermarket brand was better. I won't spoil the end for you. I will have to check that out. I can't imagine there's a difference. I know in the Midwest growing up, RC Cola, Royal Crown Cola, was very popular. Very cheap, pennies. 1 or 2 pennies compared to a Coke, which was like 10 cents. And people liked Royal Crown Cola better. I never was really into pop very much growing up. And here we go. It's just too delicious to stop. Trump always had the same thing. Shrimp cocktail, well-done steak, and fries, Friday, plus some apple pie or chocolate cake for dessert. Popovers, make it a double for the president, had to be served within 2 minutes, and the crustaceans immediately. The manual instructed the server to open mini glass bottles of Heinz ketchup in front of Trump, taking care to ensure that he could hear the seal make the popping sound of freshness. Garnishes were a no-no. Melania Trump once sent back a Dover sole fish because it was dressed with parsley and chives. Trump himself never returned a plate, but if he was disappointed, you can bet the complaint would travel down the ranks. Like the time the president questioned why his dining companion had a bigger steak. Now, personally, I can tell you that when Jan Marie, before we were vegan, we would go out and get like some salmon or some fish or something at a restaurant, and we both ordered the same thing. And the server, every single time, no matter what restaurant we went to, would always give her the bigger piece of fish. Every single. I complained very loudly, but not to the server, but to my beautiful wife, who I tried to shame into giving me a little bit more of her fish than what I had. And it was never successful. So I do have empathy for that. The restaurant already special ordered supersized shrimp just for him and no one else. Next time they'd better beef up the beef. And about the steak being too big, it was the same steak, both well done. Maybe it was a half ounce bigger or something, I don't know. The chef always prepared a bone-in ribeye or filet mignon for Trump. After Steakgate, he switched to a 40-ounce tomahawk. Trump would never again gripe that he didn't have the greatest, hugest, most beautiful steak. One more thing. Don't forget the snacks. A tray of junk food needed to be available for every Trump visit. Lay's potato chips, specifically sour cream and onion. Milky Way, Snickers, Nature Valley granola bars, Tic Tacs, gummy bears, Chips Ahoy, Oreos, Nutter Butter Buttercups, Tootsie Rolls, chocolate-covered raisins, and Pop Secret. Pop Secret's popcorn, right? Now, the thing I found most interesting about that whole thing is that Trump wanted ketchup on everything. And it goes on to explain how he wanted extra ketchup on his Big Macs. And he would try to order Big Macs at the White House, and the chef couldn't get them right, and Trump would be furious. And this is all with the Hutchinson testimony about him throwing plates on the wall and ketchup being on the wallpaper. And they said they knew it was him because he was the only one who had that much ketchup available to throw. So the Secret Service would go to the local McDonald's and order him Big Macs with extra ketchup, and they'd bring it back and he would be very happy. Now, putting ketchup on a steak, on a well-done steak, by the way, is a verboten. And I grew up in steak and potatoes in Nebraska, and a lot of people there, I was not a big steak eater, but a lot of people there like A1 steak sauce or Heinz 57 steak sauce. And it's like ketchup to them, and they put it on everything. But the idea of a delicious steak is that it is so perfectly cooked and so perfectly seasoned that you don't need to add anything like a ketchup or an A1 steak sauce or a Heinz 57 sauce, because it's already perfectly done. And you just eat it and you're happy. And I'm going to tell you a New York story about just that when I return from my final blood pressure break. I'll be back in a moment. And we are back from break and live on Bowls TV. BOLES.TV, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, except Monday because we're off on the holiday. So during the break, Gordon sent us a link, and I can hover over this link in chat, and it says, I Quit Diet Coke is the title of it. 24 minutes long. We can't watch it because we'll get dinged. We can't even watch it without sound because YouTube knows a YouTube video and they violate you. You are watching this illegally on your channel. Cut it out. Okay, I will, but I won't. But we'll definitely watch that. Thank you so much, Gordon. So we've been talking about Trump and his terrible taste in food and how he wants to put ketchup on everything. Not a big ketchup fan, but I'm from the Midwest, and I sort of understand where that impetus, as they say, is coming from. So, I first moved to New York. One of my friends and mentors, Marshall Jameson, who wrote many poems for many years for us at Go Inside Magazine, Urban Semiotic, and David Bowles' blogs. Marshall got his start on Broadway on Mr. Roberts with Hank Fonda. He became a director, producer, television guy, and was well known. And when you were well known in New York and you hung out at places like Sardi's or other restaurants, sometimes they would draw a caricature of you, a cartoon, and put you up on the wall. And Marshall was a big drinker and a big smoker. And he smoked cigars, big, stinky cigars, like cigarettes. And he lived to be very old. And he stopped smoking, changed to cigarettes, but cigars, when he was in New York, that's how everybody knew him. Marshall, he was huge, 6'6", 250 pounds, and not fat. He was had a very deep voice. He was terrifying, very intimidating. He'd pick up the phone and he'd answer, Jameson. Now in Nebraska, you pick up the phone and say, hi, this is David. How can I help you? Yeah. And you call Marshall. Jameson. Hi, this is David. I'm calling. But he was very wonderful to me and a very good friend. Retired to Florida, Fort Myers. And one of Marshall's favorite places to go in New York City was the Minetta Tavern. And he said, when you go. He said, I have a drawing up there, a picture up there. It's terrific. I said, well, that's great. Maybe I can buy your cartoon, your caricature. He said, no, why would you do that? This is before the days of iPhones and easy picture taking. I said, well, maybe they don't want it. He said, I think it's still up there. Don't touch it. Leave it up there. Okay. So I had a project to go to the Minetta Tavern and look for Marshall's caricature. And this is before we were vegan and have a nice steak and hamburger, but we had no money. We were very, very, very poor. So we would walk by Minetta Tavern. This is what it looks like. Wonder, and it's like, oh, it's at 113 McDougal Street, right on the corner. Beautiful New York City street in the Village. And it looks exactly like this today as it did back then, in the 50s and in the late 80s when we were there. This is the floor. These are the caricatures. And they're all over the restaurant, just like Sardi's. But in my opinion, these caricatures are much more interesting than the ones at Sardi's. Sardi's look like cartoons. These are more like realistic drawings. And Marshall's was there. It was in the back of the bar. And it looked exactly like him. I wanted to buy it. Or at least ask if I could have it. But I didn't because he told me I couldn't. And so they're well known for their hamburgers and their Friday French fries. And this is, see, the caricatures on the wall. fabulous. I looked at all of them while I was there. I was just such a geeko. And when we went, it was in the afternoon. Gordon says, I believe you once said, well, what's the point of art that looks like a photograph? Yeah, these are not really realistic drawings, but the Sardi stuff looks like cartoons. These are more abstraction portraits. It's hard to explain. It looks like the person, but not like the person. Like the famous JFK painting. We couldn't afford to go to Minetta Tavern. We could afford to go in there and look around, but the prices were astronomical. So one day, a friend of ours was visiting from the Midwest, well-established guy, super friendly. Said, hey, I'm going to be in New York City. I want to take you guys out to dinner. It was Jana and me and our friend. We said, okay. And then we couldn't work out dinner because he was going somewhere and lunch. So we decided on the Minetta Tavern because it was close to where we were living on Cornelia Street at the time. And we decided to go like at 3 o'clock. And this was a friend of ours who was a businessman, did a lot of traveling, but was very Midwestern. So at 3 o'clock on a weekday at Minetta Tavern, there is nobody there. There's nobody at the bar. We ate way back here in the dining room. There's nobody there at the Minetta Tavern. So we went in and we sat down and we ordered steaks. How do you like them? Medium rare, rare. Our friend, I think, ordered his well done, which is a big, like, you could see our server's face was like, they took the order, went back, brought out the steaks. And they were beautifully cooked, beautifully seasoned. And our friend says, could I have some A1 steak sauce? Usually in the Midwest, when you go to a steakhouse, A1 steak sauce, Heinz 57, it's all of those things are already on the table. So our friend thought that they had just forgotten to put that on the table because we were there when no one else was there. And again, our server, like, oh no. And our server said, are you sure? And our friend said, yeah, some steak sauce. And the server said, but sir, you haven't even tasted your steak yet. And that's when I remembered, oh no, that's the rule in a New York steakhouse is you eat the steaks that's served to you because the spices and the seasoning are specific to the steakhouse. It's very important to them. If you're a low-class person or a tourist and you need ketchup or steak sauce, ask for it after you've taken a bite or two, and then they'll give it to you. But you don't ask for it before you've had a bite, because that's like a smoker salting everything before even one bite is taken. And my friend said, well, I'll wait for the sauce. So the server left, and my friend looked at me and said, what's going on? So I tried to explain the rule in New York, can you just try a bite or two first and see if you like it? Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's juicy. Maybe you don't need the A1 steak sauce. And our friend was very disappointed. He said, I'm paying a lot of money to be here. I'm from out of town. I'm a tourist. Why can't I have steak sauce? I said, okay. So, excuse me, coughing. Neighbor hotboxing. So our server comes back about 10 minutes later, made us wait. My friend didn't eat because he was making a statement. We went ahead and ate because our friend said, go ahead. So the server comes out with a big platter, silver platter, with a brand new bottle of A1 steak sauce on top of it. Brings it to him, opens it, just like the Trump thing, opens it for our friend, almost like you want to smell it or taste it like a bottle of wine. Put it down. Our friend poured it over his steak. Cut, ate, delicious. The server left. Our friend is now eating his steak, smothered in A1 steak sauce. And then I look up and I notice that all the wait staff who had mysteriously disappeared 3 o'clock were all staring at us from the waitstaff stand, which was right next to the kitchen. There were like 5 of them. And they're all dressed in their beautiful tuxedo outfits, and they're looking at us like this. And I'm like, oh no. Like we're going to get asked to leave, really. They looked very serious. They were watching in wonderment. They had never seen anyone do that to their steak before. And then I saw, with a big butcher knife actually, which I think was done for show, someone come out from the kitchen who had a chef's hat on, cross his arms with the butcher knife here. And that our friend noticed. And he looked up and said, whoa, is that the chef? I said, I think that's the guy who cooked your steak, yeah. I said, why is he out here? Why is everyone staring at me? And I said, well, you didn't even taste your steak. We're covering it in A1 steak sauce. That's sort of an insult because the seasoning. And my friend said, oh, okay. Didn't care. So my friend finished his steak. Everyone left. We had our dessert. My friend left a tip. I left a bigger tip. I sort of said to the head waiter, I'm sorry. I'm down. And the waiter will. So we left. I waved goodbye to the Marshall caricature. And I did feel a little bit embarrassed for me and my friend. Because there are certain rules when you go to a nice place to eat that you never really forget. And we said goodbye to our friend, thanked him for what was really a wonderful meal. It was delicious in every aspect. My steak did not need any sort of seasoning whatsoever. It was perfect just the way it was, juicy, delicious, fantastic. Jana felt the same way. The dessert was wonderful. The coffee was delicious. We were treated royally, even though we were looked at like people from the zoo. Who are these people? Where do they come from? They must be from out of town because they're having dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm reminded of this. Marshall Jameson, my friend and mentor, wrote this wonderful poem. Go Inside magazine on January 27, 1999. The Listener at the Minetta Tavern. On a corner in the village where MacDougall Street meets Minetta Lane, still stands the ancient bar where Manny, the smiling bartender, poured and smiled and listened. Over a half-century ago and more, Manny listened to ancient scene designer Cleon Throckmorton and to his black-clad wife Julie, listened to Monty, the reporter from the Daily Mirror, to his pal, the Moose, and to Phil Cazaza, the fat wine merchant of Bleecker Street. Listened to Chelsea, the Italian tenor, and to Red, the musical plumber, and to an uncounted number of fledgling actors who at one time or another haunted the old Provincetown Playhouse just up the street, which NYU has now destroyed and taken down. So Manny poured, and Manny listened in interested silence, his attention real, never phony or false. He listened because he cared about you, his fellow man, and you knew it. Too bad you never met him. But they say, the real old-timers, that if you step into the Minetta Tavern to this day, you can still catch a little of Manny's spirit if you listen quietly to what's going on. It's a wonderful poem. It captures the time and place very beautifully. Wraps up our show and ends our week. And I thank you so much for being here. If you have any thoughts or comments, you can find me in email, david@bowles.tv. On the Twitter, superfollow @DavidBowles. And hey, on Instagram, we're Bowles Books. TikTok, which many people are now saying is going to be banned in America, we're Bowles TV. And our good friend Commissioner Gordon says, signing off from Winter Park, thanks for having us. And to that I reply, oops. And to that I reply, we'll see you in a day or two, or 3 or 4. We're off Monday. If you're interested, find us on our Discord server. We're there to have fun. I just realized that should say Winter Garden. Oh, not Winter Park. I will fix. I'm writing myself a note. Beautiful. I went from living in Kew Gardens to Winter Garden. Love it. And how funny is that? A winter garden in the beautiful state of Florida. And we do have a little bit of a conundrum with Gordon, because Gordon is trying to get rid of Ron DeSantis, and we are trying to figure out how to make him stay in Florida. It's going to be a battle, and I think Gordon's going to win. Good for Gordon. Bad for the freedom of America. And speaking of freedom of America, happy 4th of July if you celebrate. Uh-oh, hold on. Oh no, Gord's going to tell us something. We will wait. We will absorb. And I hope you have a good nap and a good rest and a good awakening. When you are fully rested and you rejoin the world of the stunning, may your soul be filled with joy and anticipation. Gordon says Elizabeth and I both got postcards with the same messages handwritten on them, telling us who to call for a mail-in ballot, dates for elections, and then at the bottom, ... Vote for local and state Democrats. Defeat Rubio, DeSantis. Signed a fellow Democrat. Well, I love that. And boy, I hope it's true. And the thing I loved about when Ron DeSantis decided to pick on Mickey Mouse, they said, it's very simple. Disney needs to do one thing to show the muscle that they have in Florida. and that is to get rid of Ron DeSantis, to send him down to a defeat. And that is Disney closes on voting day. Disney announces to all of their employees, don't say gay. Some may be gay, have gay friends. They're in the movie business. A lot of gay, talented people in the movie business. Disney says on voting day in Florida, we will pay you. We're closing the parks, and instead of coming to work, we want you to go vote for whomever you want to vote for. But just remember, don't say gay, and that we stood up for our employees. Go, vote, come back the next day, and Ron DeSantis would be defeated in a landslide. And here we go. The commissioner is providing court-approved evidence, which frightens me a little bit because this really does look homemade and homewritten. Wow, look at that. Oh, I love it, though. That's exactly how you get things going. I love it. Vote for local and state Democrats. Defeat Rubio and DeSantis. Oh, I hope. Love it. That is absolutely delicious. And Gordon, if you won't put that on social media today, I will. And for some reason, our quotation marks are not being accepted today, and I don't have anything to do with it. But Gordon says, we thought at first maybe it's printed handwriting. No, look closely. You can see many differences in the writing styles. I see. It's very clearly not fake. And did they do the highlighting or did you do the highlighting? Because the highlighting looks hyper-realistic to me. That's how you convince people. One person can make a difference. One person can take a stand. One person can say they did the highlighting. And I love that even more, that they did that to highlight. With real highlighters, you can tell it's a real highlighter. I love it. It's not that fake stuff. I may share on social media. I have the permission. I'm doing it, as they say. Done. Yeah, baby. Fabulous. And I will save that page and make sure nothing goes anywhere that we don't want it to go. Beautiful. And so now we say we will see you again on Tuesday. Take care and be well.